I want to go back and be fair to that. And I know, again, in the same thing, like I said, with my father, who was at some points good, but at some points bad, right?
Yeah.
You've told me stories specifically
Mhm.
where he's going off on you.
Yes.
So like when you're taking calls from people that want to book you.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Uh, well, like I said, I don't want to paint my dad to be this monster because he's not. Again, like I said, with growing up mind and growing up perspective, I can understand that he was probably going through some weird stuff at the time, personally. Um, but yeah, like my dad, like I said, military man, so he's used to everything being punctual and perfect and ready, you know. Um, what it was just it made it hard because he was like that, anything that I did, that was not perfect would get, I'd get yelled at. uh an example would be when I first got my very first call that somebody wanted to book me for a graduation party, and they were like money, like finally like a paid artist, a paid musician, right? I had gotten a call from some family on my dad's side that they lived in San Marcos, and I was so excited, and I was like, okay, and I wrote down the date and the time. It was like a couple months away or whatever like that, and I was like, okay, thank you, and I was all excited, and I hang up the phone, and I go and I tell my dad, oh, dad, guess what? I got my first paid booking, dad. I was so excited. And then he says, well, who was it? Oh, I forgot to ask the name of the cousin, because this is like extended family, like people, like
Yeah.
my dad's cousins of a cousin of a cousin, so I wasn't really sure, you know? And so I was like, I was just
Kind
like,
of important though.
huh?
It's kind of important though.
Yeah, very important, right? I was just kind of like, I was like, I forgot to ask. And so, yeah, like my dad's the type, like, let's just say I got an extreme talking to because of that. And so, like, yeah, at the time, yes, they had finally invented caller ID. So it wasn't like we were without hope in figuring out who called to book me, right?
Yeah.
So we just called the number back on the caller ID, and then so yeah, my dad's the type, like he was just like, um, he called them back and he was like, yeah, my daughter doesn't know how to take phone messages, and she didn't ask for the name, and just completely put me on blast and embarrassed me in front of the people.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Okay, so may I be harsh if I may?
Can I still be Becky? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, go ahead.
This is what you have said.
Mhm.
Well, this is a question based off what you have said. So how would you say did his abuse
Mm.
shape your decisions and relationships during that time?
Well, it set me up for failure because I thought that was normal. So I accepted that behavior from all men in my life. I had been, because of that, like I accepted abusive relationships. So like I said, it kind of warped me into believing that that's just how men are. That's just how men treat you, I thought it was normal for a
So
long time.
I don't know if you want to share this or not, but know that there was a time where you were led to run away
Yeah.
And how did that feel to live on the streets?
Ugh. Darkness. Darkness, and it was a really bad time in my life, and I completely regret that decision because it did not lead to good things. Um, so you're specifically what I just talked about, the phone call and the message thing, that was what, just like before I said there was a final straw that I had when I was decided to hurt myself, right?
Yeah.
This was same thing. Like I was so tired of being called in. Like I was already, like I said, school. They're already calling me an idiot. Everywhere I go, I'm stupid. I'm no good. I'm fat. I'm this. I'm that. So yeah, just one more person. My own family. Talking to me how much I suck and stuff. Like yeah, I was just like, I thought a boy was gonna rescue me. Just put it that way. I thought I had found a guy that was gonna take me away from all that.
Yeah. Hold
He
on,
did
hold on.
not. He ended up being abusive too.
So, so let's be honest and straight up, right? Yeah, this is actually one of the questions that the thing came up with, right?
Hmm.
How did your relationship with Frank begin, and when did it turn abusive?
Ew, that's the name that you should never say. When did it turn abusive? Well, the whole relationship was abusive because he was,
So this goes back to your dad,
yeah,
and because of this phone call that you got that you didn't take right,
yeah,
you left to be with this guy Frank.
yep,
So what
huh?
happened?
No, like I said, so like it was already like I had just become too accepting of people treating me like trash, and so I thought, because he expressed interest in me and whatnot, this dude would break up with me like every other day, you know, and so he kept me like chasing him, like, no, Frank, please, right? Oh God, I was so stupid. but but yeah, like I had it's so funny because yeah, like I said, back then we didn't have the cell phones like we do now. We didn't have you had the landline. And my dad had just recently gotten a teeny tiny little cell phone, like because that's what was coming out at the time, right? The little just with just buttons, right? There's no screen really, right? But I had I had snuck into his room to go take that phone so I could call what's his name, and I told him what happened. And I told him, I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I can't take it. And so he drove. He had a truck that he would borrow his mom's truck, and so he was like, go meet me at the end of the street. I'm gonna pick you up and I'm gonna save you and whatever. And so I believed it. So that night, yeah, I packed like a little backpack purse and I left my house, and biggest mistake because I entered the belly of the beast because yeah, like this that whole he turned physically abusive. Um I had been staying with him for like a week already, right? So I had just so much stuff going on at this time. Um I had just auditioned for this band called Grupo Sensacion, and so I had attended my very first practice for them, right? And I was supposed to be back at the house around 10. But you know how it is with band practice, right? It might run a little bit late because you have to go over a song extra or something, right?
Yeah.
So I was new, and so they were making sure I had all the songs, all the lyrics. So when I got home, it was about 10:30. It wasn't 10 o'clock, right? And I get to the house where Frank's at, and he's outside waiting for me. And I was all excited, and I was all, Frank, look, they gave me the music, they gave me the song, right? And I'm showing him, the lyric sheets that they gave me and stuff.
Yeah.
And this dude, grabs the papers and starts ripping them up. And he's all, I don't care. I don't care about this crap. You stupid bitch. Like he started calling me that. And he was doing this in front of the person who dropped me off.
Uh,
Like no shame. Like no hiding it, no nothing. And he ripped up all my papers. And my friend that gave me a ride was getting out to go meet him. But then Frank was all, he's like, I don't want to meet nobody. He was mad and he started going and destroying all my stuff. And then so my friend was like, oh, he's all, this is too much. And he drove off, right? And that's when he grabbed me by my collar of my neck and he pulled me inside. And he dragged me to his room, which was in the back of the house. And he closed the door. And he had grabbed like a button, like concert buttons, like to support your favorite band or support your favorite whatever. It has like the safety pin in the back.
Yeah.
Right? He had grabbed one that was like pretty big, like the size of your hand, right? He grabbed that and he threw it at my face, and the safety pin part hit my eye, and so I had a big gash going across my eye.
Oh shit.
And then from that instant, I was, I grabbed my face and I'm like, oh, you hurt me. And he was like, shut up. And that's when he just started punching me.
Oh shit.
He started punching me and he threw me on the bed and he started grabbing my stuff and he started telling me, get the fuck out of my, excuse my language. He's like, get out of my house. I hate you. And what was really wild to me is that his mom was like in the house and he was still doing, like, nobody stopped, nobody helped me.
Dang.
And so what got him to stop was my face was bleeding from the safety pin part of the button hitting me. And so it was getting all over the bed, it was getting all over our clothes, and so he stopped throwing my stuff around and told me to go clean my face so I don't ruin the rest of his stuff, like the carpet and stuff.
Dang.
And then so yeah, that night I was like I was gonna leave, but then that's what I'm saying, he was so bipolar in that way. So I start grabbing my stuff and I'm like, okay, well let me see if I can call my mom to come pick me up then, and I'll just go back to my house. And then he starts with oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it, I love you. And so that was the beginning of the cycle of abuse, because it would be like that. It would escalate, punching, kicking, beating, and then when I'm finally like, for real on my way out trying to leave him, he'd always be like, I'm sorry, I love you, you're my soulmate.
Did you stay with him or what?
I was with that dude for like 2 years. And it was always the same thing. There was
And after that, what'd you do?
What do you mean after that? What did I do?
Did you go back home or did you move on to somewhere else or what?
Oh yeah. So I left him for good because he had this number would keep paging him, and he would keep telling me it's nobody. And finally there was I had again, very toxic, very stupid. Like I said, I got myself just into a really bad, dark place, man. I put up with a lot of BS. But I had hidden his pager from him when he was about to leave one of these times, right? Because I wanted to know, who is this calling you, You keep telling me it's nothing and that I'm crazy. So yeah, he takes off. I had the pager hidden.
I've known you for a long time. You really are crazy.
Yes. But the number pages again, right? So I was like, okay, this is my chance, right? And so I go to the payphone. We're living at an apartment complex at this time, right? I'm about 17. Again, really stupid. This was not a smart idea at all. But I call the number back and I'm trying to, be professional and not to make assumptions. And I was like, hi, yes, I got this number on my boyfriend's pager, Frank. I was just calling back to see who this is. And the voice on the other end was a chick, and she's all like, girlfriend? I'm his girlfriend. I was
What?
like, what? Yeah, I don't want to name names or whatever, but she's, she tells me her name. And she's like, I've been with him for the last 2 months and all this stuff. And she's like, that's my man. And he's on his way over here to see me. And she just starts telling me a bunch of really gross stuff, And so I go, like, that was it. Like, that was, fun. Like, it turned off my love for him instantly. Whatever connection I had, whatever things I was trying to grasp onto to have somebody love me, like that conversation right there killed all that. So I hung up the phone. I told her, I was like, you know what? You can have him. That's fine. And I hung up the phone and I went back to the apartment. I packed up everything that I could, that I had that was mine. And then I went back to the payphone and I had to do it. And I called my dad. I was like, Dad, this is where I'm at. I'm at these apartments. I'm leaving him for good. Can you please come pick me up? And so, yeah, my dad picked me up. And that was the end of that relationship. I never went back
Dang.
because he would try. Like I said, it was very bipolar in that, 1 minute he's like, oh, I love you, and then the next minute he's like, I hate you, you ruined my life, So yeah, but after that I still wasn't cured of allowing abusive relationships in my life. Like, subsequently all my relationships after that were with abusive guys. So that's, like I said, that's where it messed me up in my head, that I believed that kind of treatment, that kind of behavior was normal, and that there was something wrong with me if I couldn't accept that. And I was just so desperate for somebody to love me, for somebody to say that I'm good, for somebody to say that I have, I'm worth something. So yeah, like I was just all of the bullying and all of that stuff, the treatment, the way my dad was and stuff like that. It just it didn't result in positive things for me because my mind was accepting bad things.
So around this time, what happens after that? Because I know there's some stories about your dad
Well,
after,
um,
after this time, or what? You tell me. I don't know the timeline, but I know.
well, after this, I had tried to go back home and try to restore, my relationship with my parents and work things out and stuff. But what I didn't know at that very same time that I was going through that, um, my parents were going through their own issues as well, and so, um, a few months after this incident, when I finally left, what's his name for good, the next loss I had to deal with was my dad leaving us. That was hard.
So what was it like when your father left, taking everything and leaving you and your mom with the empty home?
It was scary and I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense. Um, just because bef- he left our house saying, again, his job transferred him to somewhere else, and we were of the belief that we were supposed to be all going together, So my dad gets the moving truck and he moved everything to the new city he was living in, right? And then all I know is my mom's crying because my dad writes an email to her saying that he needs his space and he doesn't want us to go with him. I was like, it was a shock for me and my mom because he took everything. He took all our clothes. literally left us with one. There's two of us, me and my mom, but he left us with one fork, one spoon, one knife. You know, we laugh about it now, you know, it's because, you know, obviously we survived and we're okay, you know, but yeah, it was scary. It was scary, and it sent me even down a worse dark spiral because that was it. Like my daddy left me. That's, you know, what am I worth now? Not even my dad wants me. That was my thinking, you know. So yeah, it just that was a catalyst that led down a road of just complete darkness and just complete hating myself and complete just participating in very destructive behavior, you know. I just stopped caring.
How did your mom cope with the divorce and the betrayal?
Not very well. um it was hard, you know. We you know, there were some other things that happened, but ultimately we landed back in San Antonio, you know. We were able to get our, you know, most of our stuff back from my dad, and we ended up back in San Antonio. And so my mom had to move forward, you know. I saw her be resilient at that time, you know, because she made sure that we had a um you know, we were living at my grandparents' house for a little while, you know, when we first moved here. But then my mom made sure she went out and she got a job, and she went out and she found us an apartment. And she was doing her best to move forward the best that she could. And so, yeah, for the longest time, you know, it was me and my mom, you know, having to move on from this stuff, you know. um,
So, what was your relationship like with your mom at these times?
was friends for a while because that's all we had was each other, you know. We were the ones going through this, you know. My I have an older brother who's 7 years older, so you know he's off, you know, doing his thing and living his life and stuff like that. So it was down to me and my mom, you know. And you know, for a long time, for a while, like a good year, it was just me and her. She was my best friend.
And how did the move to San Antonio change things for you emotionally or mentally?
It again sent me into a dark place because I felt like, again, absent any, there's no social media, there's no way to reach out for people unless you have their phone numbers, address to write them a letter or whatever, right? um I was alone and I felt lonely and I felt like nobody cared, and I was starting to get back to that place that I was when I was, you know, early teenager and I had tried to hurt myself. It was getting close to that again. I kept fighting it. I kept trying to be like, you know, I tried holding on to the hope that my music was giving me, you know, trying to stay positive and pursuing that. That sucked. But I'll actually we can close with this story. Okay. During this time, feeling very alone, like no, because nobody even knew I moved to San Antonio, right? From when I talked to my friends later on down the line, you know, they were like, "Man, you just disappeared on us." And so, yeah, just I was in San Antonio for about 6 months without, you know, making any friends, without, you know, meeting anybody new, you know, outside of my family and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I was just feeling really alone. And then one day, out of the blue, it was a Thursday afternoon, the phone rings, I answer it, and there's a familiar voice on the other end. And she says, "Hi, I'm looking for an Irene Morales or a Rebecca Morales." And I said, "Nicole? It was my best friend from Corpus." She was scared that I just disappeared. And she said, I got the phone book and I have called all the Mireilleses that I can find in the San Antonio phone book until I found you. My best friend since first grade, the only person to have my back all through school, the only one she actually went through bullying similar to me, right? My best friend found me. Wow. It turned my life around. It turned my world around because I was like, somebody cared. Somebody came looking for me. Like, I always tell her that, like, I always share, I always remind her of that story of whatever. Like, I tell her, you know why you're my best friend, right? So, you know, just to end on a positive note, yes, I've been through some stuff. Yeah, it's been crazy, but I'm thankful for the genuine people in my life. And Nicole, my best friend, she's one of them. Like I said, I was in my darkest place. Nobody knew I had moved to San Antonio. Nobody could find me. And she did. She looked for me and she found me. And from that day on, we vowed never to lose touch again. And so yeah, here we are, fast forward to today, and you're my witness on that, right? We've stayed connected. We never let each other go ever again.
Yep, that's true.
And so that was a big lesson of it's not important how many, right? You don't want to just be surrounded by just random people and just for the sake of having a lot of people around you. You want the genuine ones. She was genuine. And so yeah, like she helped me get through a lot of the darkness.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, let's close this up. Tonight, we've heard about the pain and challenges of Becky faced during her childhood and teen years, bullying, abuse, and the struggles to survive. But we've also seen sparks of her resilience and her love of music, right?
Yeah.
We have a love of music, right?
Yep.
Next time, on this podcast, 2 weeks, right? Every other week, every other Sunday, we're going to do this podcast every other Sunday. Tune in every other Sunday. We're going to do another podcast. We're going to wrap this up in 1 year. In 1 year, every other week, we're going to do a podcast. And in 1 year, we're going to have a full book that's going to tell the story of Becky's life. And next time, we'll dive into the beginning of our journey together, me and Becky, the challenges of our early years, and how Becky.
It's okay, don't cry.
It's hard. It's
I
hard.
know. Yeah, these are some very, and you know what, honestly too, because we don't really talk about stuff. We kind of just like we had to just keep moving forward, right? Like you don't have time to like sit back and cry.
But in the next episode, we're going to talk about the early years and how Becky's story continued to unfold. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Please share, please like, please post. We're going to do, like I said, every other week, every other Sunday, we're going to do this. And next Sunday, Becky's going to interview me.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about my life story. So tune in
Yep.
for that, because you know what? Everybody's testimony is important. There's a reason you have a testimony. It's important. And that's why we tell the story that is unlike any other. The story of Becky D. Beauty, the story of Capone de Leon, the story of you. Like, share, promote the video, DM us if you want to be one of the next people to be on the podcast. We want to hear from you. Your testimony is important. Share it. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Babe, any last words?
No, just thank you for joining us, and I appreciate everybody who's taking the time to spend some time with us. I hope that what we share has a positive impact on others. And I just want to say, like, I know we're talking about a lot of, the bad times and stuff, but like I said, growing up me today, everything that I'm talking about with my family and whatnot, I love my mom and dad very much. I'm good with them. I have an understanding that they're, after I've gone through parenthood, now I understand like they were just trying to do the best that they can. Um, so at that capacity, I would encourage, I know a lot of people have, uh, some bad stories maybe about their parents and whatnot. So I just want to encourage others to exercise grace and forgiveness as much as possible. It's not easy, but it's important because it's very freeing. It's not for anybody else, but it's for you. It frees you of anger, of being held down by resentment. Whatever the negativity is. Just um, be mindful to be working towards having forgiveness towards whoever hurt you.
Straight up, without a doubt, unforgiveness is the shackles that you put on yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't need that. You don't need shackles on yourself. Unshackle yourself by forgiving all those who have done you harm. Just forgive them. It's that easy.
That doesn't mean we make excuses. That doesn't mean what happened was all right, but that means that I'm freeing myself of the burden of unforgiveness.
I'm unlocking my own shackles and freeing myself. That's what it's about. Don't worry about it. What others have done to you. Just forgive. Just forgive. Because when you set yourself free of your own shackles, there's no one that can stop you.
Amen.
Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll see you next Sunday for my interview. Becky's going to interview me. And we'll see you the following Sunday for episode 2 of Becky. And the story is unlike any other.
Yep.
God love you. God bless you. We'll see you soon.